In Japan, the basic human activity of productive work has reached a level of organization, efficiency, and discipline that is currently unknown in North America.
Survival commands you to do things here and now, and not necessarily the way you want them to be. Reality is bigger than whatever you are.
The 110 million Japanese live on 1/4% of the world's land space. They produce 1/10 of the world's gross product. If 110 million Japanese all demanded their individual rights the way we do in North America, then this place would immediately blow apart. For the Japanese, survival means doing things together.
It is fairly difficult in the West to see a group of people at work within the offices. In good individualistic fashion, everybody does his work independently from everybody else. Now, when we look at the Japanese office, it is exactly the opposite. There are no walls, there are no separate rooms. The manager is sitting at the end of a long row of desks, and you see the entire work group at work. The kind of concentration of the mind that we expect from being isolated, well, that is something that doesn't bother the Japanese, it seems.
The layout of the office is designed to maximize face-to-face communication. The slow and clumsy Japanese typewriter with its 2,000 characters is seldom used. The working unit is a group of about 10 people who sit with their desks pushed together, facing each other. The manager of one group is just a turn of his swivel chair from the manager of the next group. The top man in the office sits at one end of the room, with the whole office laid out in front of him. North Americans doing business in Japan for the first time encounter a problem as soon as they make their first specific proposal to the Japanese. They don't seem to be responding with any specific answers, and it's not clear exactly who is in charge of giving the answers.
I think 10%, around 10% of temporary demand is existing now. 10%.
In other words, your production is 10% over the true demand.
Yes, I think so.
The Western negotiator is an individual. So he tends to talk to another individual across the table. But there is no individual across the table. There is a group of people across the table. And you don't talk to a group the way you talk to an individual.
In a Japanese company, everyone functions as a member of a group. Everyone thinks as a member of a group.
future prices are probably more tied into the cost of logs.
All new employees begin their careers in large Japanese companies on April 1st. On this day each year, thousands of companies throughout Japan hold initiation ceremonies for their new employees. April 1st is also the day when the brightest graduates from Japan's top universities are welcomed into government service by the Prime Minister. These young men are an elite. Most of Japan's leading politicians, over half the post-war prime ministers, and all the top civil servants started their careers with this initiation ceremony. Entrance into the civil service is achieved by superior academic performance. Starting as early as kindergarten, everyone here has excelled at a series of ruthlessly competitive examinations at every stage of their school careers. They are the cream of the crop, the brightest and toughest young minds in the country. They share a high morale and a sense of purpose because they know they're a closed group. In 20 to 30 years' time, the leaders in all the ministries of the Japanese government will emerge from their ranks. No political appointees or outsiders are allowed to join later. Everyone must follow this prescribed course and work his way from the bottom up. The new civil servant goes through about 6 years of special academic and on-the-job training. The first 2 years are spent learning the ropes in his new ministry and making friends in the various departments and branch offices. In the third year, the most promising of the young civil servants are sent off for 2 years of postgraduate study at universities in the United States and Europe. After the 6-year apprenticeship is over, the young civil servants return to the Tokyo head office of their ministry to start climbing up the hierarchy. Everyone who entered in the same year rises up the hierarchy together for the first 10 years or so. After that, those who fail to get promoted are eased gracefully out of government and into new careers in business or politics. Those who do prove their leadership ability by rising to the very top of their ministry often use this position as a springboard into the higher echelons of political power. The presence of many levels of former civil servants in business and political circles helps to cement the close and harmonious relations that exist between business and government in Japan. April 1st at the Toyota Motor Company. Management and union leaders sit together on a stage facing the 2,000 new employees. The commitment between them is for life. The company offers a career as part of the Toyota team, and the young man joins up for life. This spirit of commitment is the cornerstone on which large Japanese companies are built.
In North America, the employment system will be determined by the needs of the company. A company has a need for a given job, and then it goes into the labor market and looks for the man that has that particular job. Normally, the company is not interested in the man, it is interested in the job the man provides. That is not possible in the Japanese context of lifetime employment.
At Toyota, many of the new employees are trained from scratch. In the course of their careers, they can expect to move from one job to another every few years, with training and retraining at each move. Like all major Japanese companies, Toyota's long-term aim is to build a permanent workforce of flexible and dedicated employees. These men will run the Toyota factories of the future. They are Toyota's future wealth.
In the Western context, where so much of a company performance is evaluated primarily in financial terms, those terms are short terms. That means that you are gauging the performance of the company in profit terms every 3 months.
The lifetime employment system has allowed Japanese industry to automate and computerize to an extraordinary degree, since jobs are never threatened. To ensure the greatest participation of workers and the greatest degree of job satisfaction, Japanese management has evolved what has come to be known in the rest of the world as the Quality Control Circle. It consists of workers organized into groups of about 10 throughout the factory. Each group is encouraged, as far as possible, to manage its own section of the line, to do its own production planning, set its own targets, and control its own quality. Out of these self-motivating, self-managing groups come new ideas, improvements, suggestions, and real involvement in the long-term goals of their company.
The group prize for the best suggestions and inventions in videotape production. The workers in your group have improved the quality of products, through which our business has magnificently advanced. Their efforts should be praised as a good example for everybody. This bellows festival has a very long history. I think it started in Egypt about 1,500 years ago, and it was introduced to Japan about 400 years ago by the early blacksmith. Since then, it has been handed down from generation to generation. Today, of course, the bellows are no longer used in our modern factory, but the mind remained the same. So once a year, those of us who use fire in our work pay our respects to the god of fire.
The women who join large companies rarely stay for long. They are expected to get married and leave after a few years. Japanese business is a man's world. where less than 1% of the managerial positions are held by women. Competition between the young men in the office is discouraged by a system of wage scales and promotion based on seniority. For the first 15 years or so, everybody moves up the company hierarchy together. The solidarity of the group is not weakened by singling out a talented few for quick promotion. The young man is encouraged to become not a specialist in any particular job, but rather a generalist. He is transferred from one working group to another until he develops first-hand knowledge of the whole company and a network of friends throughout. The salaries may be the same, but everybody in the office knows who the young men with the leadership potential are. They get a slightly higher bonus twice a year. They are transferred to the more powerful groups within the company, and later they will be promoted a year or two before their peers. Ultimately, they may get their chance to run the company for a few years. As in government, outsiders are not brought in to fill top positions. The system encourages internal harmony, coupled with fierce loyalty and competition on the company level.
Go to a Japanese office at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whenever closing time is there. Nothing happens. Apparently everything goes on like, don't they know it's 5 o'clock? Sure they know. But why should they rush out? Because the atmosphere has been congenial all along. When we negotiate with the Japanese or try to push a point across to the Japanese, I think that generally speaking a tremendous amount of time is wasted by Westerners trying to convince the Japanese. For example, the art of rhetorics, which is basically the art of persuasion, is a very ethnocentric art. It is very Western. In Japan, in Japanese civilization, the art of rhetorics never existed.
Well, anyway, it's a good market for pulp.
Yeah.
But lumber market is going down.
Well, plywood.
The Westerner negotiates a contract, whereas the Japanese negotiate a relationship. North Americans are much too legalistic in their negotiations with the Japanese. We are concerned about being as specific as possible. There is nothing bad with that. The point is that we may miss thereby the real point, namely the relationship.
The manufacturing people work.
Oh.
We don't have
Some of our Western concepts, for example, about leadership, I think do not really apply in the Japanese context. In the West, the leader is somebody outstanding. In other words, he stands out. He's not physically with the group. He's locked up in his room, and how does he lead from there? Well, that would be a mystery to the Japanese.
North American managers feel they lose their subordinates' respect if they fail to set clear goals and issue orders. But the Japanese manager takes a different approach. His concern is not the work so much as the people who do the work. He deliberately stays in the background and leaves the day-to-day running of the office to his subordinates. He does not make the decisions. He does not give orders. He is the mediator in the group who creates the working environment out of which an enthusiastic consensus can emerge.
そりゃそうだろうな。ああ、すごいね、そら。
今はのくないもんね。
ね
The Japanese manager does not question, demand, or dominate. Instead, he is acutely sensitive to the feelings of his subordinates and inspires them with his warmth and understanding.
いや、だからもうあのドライバーショットマスターや。ドライバーね。あのナイスショット。ドライバーじゃいっぺんによく考えたら、まあシングルになっちゃうよね。いや本当に。ただメンバーが違う。この人がね。
A good Japanese leader is more a father than a boss, attached to his subordinates by bonds of the heart, rather than bonds of authority.
We have another major project going in the bleach.
When you negotiate with another individual, well, you can expect an answer on the spot. He can say yes or no. I agree or go to hell. So that's very clear. But if you have a group in front of you, to expect a yes or a no now doesn't make sense. Because, well, first of all, they will have to talk together.
Decisions in Japanese business are made by consensus. Decision-making power is not concentrated in the hands of one or a few individuals. The power is diffuse, spread out. Everyone plays a part in the decisions affecting his area. Input is expected from those closest to the problems. Decisions often percolate up from the bottom, rather than down from the top.
All managers will agree that they have made some wonderful decisions and nothing has happened. There has been no execution. In Japan, decision and execution are one. And to make it even more explicit and more provocative, I would say there is no decision, there is only execution.
A consensus in any Japanese government or business organization emerges from a long process of face-to-face discussions, meetings, behind-the-scenes activity, and compromise. All must reach a unanimous conclusion, no matter how long it takes. Group harmony is maintained by consulting everybody concerned and leaving no one frustrated or dissatisfied. Once a general consensus has emerged, then a formal document is drawn up, usually by a young man in the office. This document is passed up the office hierarchy, collecting everybody's stamp of approval along the way. By the time it reaches the top executive's desk, the decision has already been made, and his stamp is the ritualistic signal for implementation to begin. At this stage, everyone in the office knows what has to be done, and so the implementation is immediate.
The Japanese execute our project, and therefore their motivation is very high. Whereas in the West, if there is some execution, it is the execution of a decision of the top.
It is business, so you should.
The Japanese system of groupthink may seem slow and cumbersome to North American businessmen. But in large, complex organizations, even a mediocre decision with everyone behind it will usually work out better than a brilliant decision imposed from the top.
In terms of international competition, then, it seems that Japanese companies have some major advantages. And I submit that the Japanese challenge in terms of international trade and international business and the like is only beginning. Is only beginning. You see, there are 110 million Japanese, so that means 110 million brains. Well, I think something is bound to come out of those brains. Why? Because each individual brain of the Japanese is better than each of our individual brains in the West? No. No. The difference is going to result from the 110 million brains working together.
World automobile demand is now shifting toward small cars at a pace we never thought possible. And I personally feel that the 1980s will mark the beginning of a truly fierce competition on a global level. These next 10 years are an opportunity for Toyota to truly establish itself as a company of international dimensions. From this moment on, you will be treated as responsible adult members of society and of our company. I hope you will develop as conscientious and spirited members of Toyota, as well as playing important roles in the society at large. And I hope you will always know that I am proud to be working with you as members of the Toyota team.
生まれた土地は荒れ放題。今の世の中、右も左も真っ暗闇じゃござんせんか。何から何まで真っ暗闇よ。筋の虎の右を向いても左を見ても